so I'm Caitlin Atkins, and today we're going to go to crops, weeds, and beyond. Get it, like Bed Bath & Beyond? It's kind of it's not really that funny. But anyways, so how many of us were involved in an agriculture education program in high school? How many of us are involved in one in college? Aren't we all ag majors? Or forestry, agroforestry? Alright, well anyways, so my overarching theme is agriculture education and youth agriculture programs like FFA and 4-H, and kind of the importance of them and what they're all about. And so one of the things that we would learn in an agriculture education program would be how to identify different crops and different weeds that are kind of out in nature. So today we're going to learn a little bit of how we would go about doing that. So if you look around the room, there are 4 different stations. One's back there, one's up here, one's here, and one's there. And there's a different sample on each table. So I'm going to number us off into 4 different groups. And once we get our numbers, we can go to our station. So that's going to be number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. And then once we're there, we'll wait for further instructions. Okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Alright, so we can go ahead and go to our table. That's number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. And when we're at our table and ready, just look up at me so I know that we're... Where?
Maybe. There we go.
Alright, so on your table you'll have your sample. It'll either be on a blue piece of paper or in some little jars like this. So what's going to happen is with your group, you'll have 1 minute to find as many unique characteristics about what's on your table within that time. Okay? So what questions do we have? Yes?
Why are we doing this?
We'll get to that. Alright, any other questions? Alright, ready, set, go.
Okay, we start off color, we start off with the strength,
It'll be fake.
It's really flat. Almost saddle.
These don't, you might not focus so much on the color, because there's different colors in each one, but they are all different. So focus a little on like structure. How's this group doing? How are y'all doing? That's okay. So all you're doing is kind of just distinguishing like what, like if you did know what it was, what would help you remember to identify it in that way? So yeah, like those. What else? What about like the structure, the shape?
This is like timber.
You guys don't have to know what it is, but all you're really trying to do is just like look at distinguishing characteristics. So if you did know what it was, what would help you remember it that way? So like shapes, colors, structures. Alright, we got about 10 seconds left. Alright, and stop. So now what we're going to do, now that you've had time to kind of review what unique characteristics you saw with your group, we're going to go around and we'll share what you found. And so if this group wants to go first, and if you want to stand up and hold up your jars while you explain so everybody can see.
Like these ones, there's another jar that looks kind of like these, but these are longer and they look more rigid than the one that we had.
These ones look dried out and all wrinkly compared to the other ones.
These ones are smaller than the rest, and I guess these are like a different shape. They're like rounder than the other ones.
Alright, do you guys know what is in those? Even
Corn.
though corn, yeah. So this group had 4 different kinds of corn. So everybody thinks that all corn, a lot of people think that all corn is the same. Well, it's actually not. So in one jar, they had what we call dent corn, and that's like your typical field corn that we harvest for animal feed or ethanol or something like that. And that's in this jar. So the dent corn is highly distinguishable by the little dent that's on the very top of the kernel. So that's how you remember that one. The second one they had is flint corn or Indian corn, and that's the ones that are all different colors. A lot of people use them for decoration now. They don't really have much of the other use other than that. The ones that are shriveled or dried is sweet corn, actually, the corn that we eat at barbecues or whatever. When they're mature, they actually look really shriveled and dried up. And then the last one is popcorn, and that's these really, really small, rounded kernels. And that's how you distinguish popcorn. So what about this group? We'll go to you guys.
So we've got some sort of plant. It's got a flower on it. It's purple. It's got little hairs on the stem tissue area, and we don't really know what those hairs are called. There's definitely a word for it, I don't know. And he said there's a heart-shaped leaf, which is very important in distinguishing what kind of plant this is. However, we are unsure of what the plant is.
Okay, yeah, very good. So this one is tall morning glory. So very good, you guys. We do distinguish it heavily by its heart-shaped leaf, and then once it actually blooms, it's got this very distinguishable purple flower. And morning glory is actually a weed, and it's a vining weed. So this is kind of what it looks like in corn. It you can see it here and here and here. What it does is it wraps itself up around the corn stalk, and it can be very hard to get rid of. So that's definitely a very common problem in our state. So what about you guys? Let's hear what you have.
So that one's more different than the others because it's longer, and then
These two look the same. They're just different in color.
One's yellow and one's darker brown.
Okay. All right. So do you know what it is?
Wheat.
Wheat. Yeah, very good. So there are a lot of different types of wheat, and they're used, obviously they grow in different seasons around the country, but they're also used for different products. So like this one is amber durum wheat, and it's we identify it because it's more clear. It's kind of like transparent a little bit, and that's used for a lot of pasta. And then this one is white wheat, and we distinguish that because the inside is actually very white, so it looks like more of a cream color. And then this one is soft red winter wheat, and it's kind of got a reddish color. And if you looked really close, at the end it's got this hairy brush. It's kind of like a little hairy tail at the end. All right, and our last group.
So we have what appears to be a weed of some sort. It has very distinguishable seed pod type things. What we're assuming are seed pods that have hairs that we think could be kind of prickly if it wasn't flattened. And then the
heart-shaped leaves.
Yeah. So you guys hit it right on the money. You do have a weed. Does anybody know what this weed is? Yes, it's cockleburr. So cockleburr. If any of you have a dog, like a lot of times when they go run around outside, they get these stuck in their fur and you have to like dig them out. So they are distinguished by these really prickly seed pods that are really spiky. And then also you can see it a little better in the picture by their very jagged leaves. And cockleburr, the stem is a little more woody than others, so that's how we distinguish that. And so all of this is important in an agriculture education scenario because if you can look in your field and realize what kind of weeds you have, you can make better management decisions as far as farming goes. So like we know, some weeds are resistant to certain kinds of pesticides or whatever you might use. So if you know what it is, then you might know that in order to save yourself a little bit of a chemical cost or however you're managing that cropping system. And our main goal in agriculture education is not only to give people agricultural knowledge, but it's also to give students important life skills that they'll be able to apply in college or in their career. So can somebody tell me what kind of life skill do you think you just practiced?
Like problem solving and like analyzing a situation and trying to like determine more things about it.
Definitely. So you had this thing that you didn't know what it was, so you kind of had a little bit of a problem because you were trying to figure it out. So definitely problem solving, and you had to analyze what your sample was. So what else? What other kind of life skill did we practice?
Speaking in front of people.
Right, so you had to stand up and explain what you found, so we had to do a little public speaking and communication. What about, did we work individually?
No.
Right, so we worked with a team, and that's definitely a big thing that is hard for students to learn, is how to work effectively with a team, but it's also something that's very important later in life. So we did a little bit of that too. Alright, so so we definitely learned a little bit of agriculture knowledge, which is important in agriculture education, but we also learned a few life skills, and that's kind of what it's all about. So thanks for going crops, weeds, and beyond. Yeah.